delivery of these upgrades. And so we're still working on what that will all look like and how those funds can be stretched to maximize the benefit for it. But basically, it's going to allow us to save money and cost and overall savings to the county and operations. So we're really excited about that. By the way, that was a highly competitive grant. I don't know that we were permitted to share the numbers of how many grants, but it was in the several hundreds from what we understand.
Near 1,000.
Near 1,000 applications, and I think they awarded 6, I believe, that day, and Johnson County was one of them. So we feel really good about our application, obviously, and the fact that we were granted that, given that grant. Secondly, as most of you heard on Friday at the SOAR conference, it was announced Abandoned Mine Lands grant from the pilot program. We all, Fiscal Court, passed a resolution in support of a sewer line extension project to which that we put that a grant application was put together by Regina McClure in our office. The city of Paintsville was the applicant for that, but we were obviously a very strong partner in that project. We did a presentation on the project at Frankfurt to the AML committee, and the award was announced last Friday that the project will receive $4 million. A significant award, obviously. I think it was probably the second highest, I think, out of all the awards that were granted in this particular pilot program. I think there were $125 million worth of applications for $26 million or $34 million at the end of the day, I guess. $34 million were granted with $125 million worth of requests. And so this project, and I say we because Johnson County is part of this project, obviously, received $4 million of that 34, so that was a very significant award for that. So basically that project is going to be used to construct a sewer expansion that will help free up capacity on the Paintsville wastewater plant and divert waste to the Honey Branch wastewater plant, which helps the Honey Branch operate more efficiently and opens up capacity, frees up capacity in the Paintsville plant. It's going to help us with economic development opportunities along US 23 South. It's also going to potentially help address some package plants along that sewer line route. So we've got economic benefits potentially. We also have environmental benefits as well. And so it's really a good project, but it's going to go south on 23 to Hager Hill and then into West Van Lier to tie into the main line going to Honey Branch. So still a lot of work to be done there, but certainly $4 million will move the needle forward significantly to get that project done. So we're really, really happy with that. In the last couple of weeks, we've also received correspondence back on 2 projects that have been chosen for award. And this is related to hazard mitigation. So after we have a natural disaster like we had in February, then the window of opportunity opens up for hazard mitigation funds to address issues that are persistently challenges and problems for our community. So Regina, the language we submitted a letter of intent, is that correct? On 2 projects, asking them for consideration of funding. This is through Kentucky Emergency Management and FEMA. And so the first one that we received a letter back on letting us know that we've been chosen for award is to correct drainage problems at Homestead Estates, which is all 581 where our county garage is. We have consistent problems down there in that area with drainage, and so they've chosen that project that we submitted the letter of intent for as a project to help design and construct and upgrade the drainage system in the Homestead Estates area down there in Homestead Estates Lane specifically to alleviate the problem of excessive runoff from heavy rains and water pooling. And you probably may or may not remember back in February when we had the flooding event, our road department just had a short window of time to get the equipment out before they were actually water bound and could not get in there. And so that's an ongoing challenge. So this will provide funding to help us do that. It's projected to cost $268,000. The county would be required to match that at 13% or about $35,000. But it's an issue that we would or will have to address eventually at some point. So we saw this as an opportunity to make application to get support financially to do this, so that we don't, as a county, do not bear $268,000. But we can potentially get this problem cured for $35,000. So saw that as an opportunity to do so. There'll be some additional work that goes forward. It's a very slow process, so I'm told. But nevertheless, we've cleared the first hurdle and been given our letter of award. The second project associated with that is hazard mitigation as well, and that is in the area on the Church Drive area, which is down off of
Holmes Creek.
Tom's Creek, thank you, behind the Tom's Creek Church, that area down there, which deals with flooding down there several times in the last 5 years. The important things to note there, one is the homeowners in that area contacted the fiscal court asking us to see if there was any way we could provide some assistance because of the ongoing repetitive flooding they had there. So at their request, then we had staff that went out and did evaluations of flood data for that area in the Church Drive, Ceramic Drive, that's the other one I was trying to think of, Church Drive, Ceramic Drive area. And so what we determined was that there was a geographic cluster in that area of repetitive damage from flooding. So we made, again, we submitted an LOI for that, and because those properties have been flooded several times, so severely that some of the owners have chosen not to return and essentially have abandoned the structure down there because they're not habitable any longer. So it's been a repetitive problem down there. So we did the letter of intent back in June of this year, and then we now are going to be proceeding on with the project. And with that, there will be we have to hold a public meeting, and we've tentatively scheduled that public meeting for October the 10th here in the courtroom at 6 p.m. So any homeowner in Johnson County whose property has repetitive or severe flooding, they can learn more details about this acquisition program at that meeting. So if there's individuals who have had repetitive flooding issues in Johnson County, they can attend that meeting and get more information. But what we want to make everyone aware of is that the funding for this particular program will focus first on those areas in Church Drive and Ceramic Drive because, again, that it is a geographic cluster down there of properties that have been repetitively damaged. So everyone in the county who may have issues repetitively is certainly welcome to attend and get more information, but just understand that the funding that's been designated for this particular project will focus primarily on the Church Drive, Ceramic Drive area first. So,
is that, so I understand that, funding from the grant?
From Kentucky Emergency Management.
To offer them, to acquire it from them because they can't, and then we own that as a county?
Correct, but understand it's an all-voluntary program. No one's required to participate, but if they choose to participate, it is an acquisition project.
So if they said, yeah, I do, we say, okay, we got the money for the grant,
And it also gets evaluated to determine, since it would be a county-owned property in perpetuity, you have to determine, where that fits into the, to the continued ownership by the county, because the county would be responsible ongoing. There's a couple of these pending in the Flat Gap area right now from that flood back in 2015. So this is not a new concept or a new project for Johnson County. This is just another opportunity for us to be able to try to resolve issues for some of the citizens that really have no means of resolution otherwise. But it's a voluntary program. I think that's important to keep that in mind. So, but again, that meeting is scheduled for October the 10th at 6 p.m. here in the courtroom for that public meeting. So, questions on that? That's a lot there. I always like to update everyone on the efforts of our solid waste folks and Monica and Steve, and they're every week going out and continuing to pick up road trash on the roadsides. To date, this goes back beginning in March of this year through the 5th of this month. They've covered 106 miles and over 2,100 bags of garbage. So that's an ongoing effort that we are very appreciative of that they continue to do, because it does make a difference. Now we just need to make sure that we all participate and encourage all the other citizens to participate in not contributing to this going forward. That we exercise personal responsibility in proper disposal of our solid waste and on our trash. The next item I want to mention, these are some road-related items. One is the Trimble Lane Bridge that failed. That is out off Route 40 just past the turnoff to the spillway on the left. and there's actually an item on the agenda related to the bid for the replacement of that bridge. But just so that everyone knows that we were able to secure emergency funding from the state for the replacement of that bridge. Our road supervisor, Phil Keaton, he made a couple trips to Frankfurt and laid out the project for them down there, and they felt that it was worthy of support from the emergency funding pool. And so we're excited about having that, getting that bridge replaced out there. There's some additional opportunities for development there as well that bridge would utilize. We also applied for assistance from Natural Resource Conservation Service on a slide in the Middle Fork of Greasy, a major slide over there that impacted the road, impacted the creek, and FEMA does not generally, as I was told, get their feet wet, so to speak, so they do not deal with things that are stream related, so you generally go to Natural Conservation Resource Services for that. They declined our first request, but then they asked us to resubmit, and so we did, and they went out and reviewed the project again, and they have sent a letter that provides the intent that they're going to give us assistance with that slide over there. So that's significant assistance there. That project is tens of thousands of dollars. I don't know how far that will actually go, but that's a big project over there, so we're glad for that. On a number for how much?
Yeah, that number.
The estimate?
No, for what they assist with.
Yeah, how much money they're going to assist with? I'm thinking, Mike, it's supposed to be, it's probably going to be somewhere in 150,000 maybe or something. I mean, it's pretty significant funding. I don't have it right offhand. Some additional ongoing maintenance items is roadside mowing is going on for its third round now. And that'll wrap it up for the year when its third round is complete. Also, there's the tree trimming and brush clipping that's going on the roadsides, opening up those pathways for vehicles, especially taller vehicles, buses, campers, fire trucks, and we're also now running 2 crews on that particular project as well. So we've upped that from 1 crew to 2. So we have 1 crew mowing and 2 crews now doing tree trimming and brush clipping. So Tim can probably comment on, from a bus standpoint, I think we're seeing some positive impacts from that trimming, I think.
A lot of the drivers that drive in them areas are tickled to death.
Yeah. And it will take time to get through all of it just because of the geography, but you know, that's something we can keep doing right on through the fall and winter, so that's ongoing. Farm and Field Day is this Saturday, 2 o'clock. That's an annual event from the Cooperative Extension Service, so keep that in mind. That's the Gary and April Davis Farm out on 201 Johnson-Lawrence County line. Also, with roads, I skipped this, but on Wednesday at 4:30, Governor Bevan and Commissioner Gray Tomlin of Rural Secondary Roads, they are scheduled to be here at 4:30 on Wednesday at the Country Music Highway Museum to announce some additional road funds for blacktopping projects in Johnson County and the city of Paintsville. So Wednesday, they moved that from tomorrow to Wednesday. They just called earlier today. The governor had a conflict and could not be here tomorrow. So that'll be Wednesday at 4:30. So hopefully everyone can attend that as well. And the part you've been looking for is the last item on the announcements, and that is we've been promoting a job opportunity through GDIT Careers. That's a organization that uses customer service representatives to work with government inbound calls for customer support for government clients. The key to this is they're looking to potentially hire up to 70 people, but they need 100 applications in order to come into the job fair. So I'm encouraging anyone who might have interest in this particular type of work to please go online and make application for these jobs. They're Monday through Friday shifts, closed on weekends and holidays. The pay is well above minimum wage, and it does offer benefits as well. So it's a good opportunity, but we need to hit 100 applicants in order for them to come to a job fair to potentially hire 70 people. This will be working at a hub located on the Big Sandy Community Technical College Mayo campus. This is something that's already in place in Cumberland and Hazard with 50 employees and 63 employees respectively employed through this program in those communities. So this is a legitimate opportunity for employment, but we need folks who are interested to make sure they apply. So please pass that along. We've got a copy of we have a flyer that we can share as well that's got details on. I think that the radio station also maybe posted it on their social media page and website. So, all right, that was a lot, but it was good. So, any questions on any of those? All right, we'll move through our announcement, or move through the agenda then. The next item is approval of minutes from the regular meeting of August 12, 2019. If there's no changes recommended, then we entertain a motion to approve.
You got the name wrong.
All right.
I don't know if that matters or not.
Sure it does.
Dual Sturgill instead of dual Sager.
Gotcha. Thank you, sir. Good catch. So Commissioner Sire, you want to make a motion to approve with that change?
Yes, sir, I make a motion to approve.
All right. We have motions or a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you for catching that. Next item is payment or approval of monthly bills. There were also some that were given to you prior to the meeting. There were some additional bills that came in since we printed the packets on Friday. So if there's any questions, please feel free to ask about any of them. And if there's not any questions, then we entertain a motion to approve the payment of these monthly bills.
Make that motion to approve these.
Motion to approve the bills by Commissioner Gerald. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sire. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Also, the monthly report that we provided in the packet last month, we will get those out as soon as they're complete. We can't turn those out until we get the bank recs done, which they just came in. So as soon as we get the bank reconciliation complete, we'll get that report out to you. Just for informational purposes, we'll get that out to you. Next item is transfers. For the fiscal court, we are requesting transfer for $40,000 from general fund to the jail fund. The second page, the first transfer there is related to a statutory contribution to the PBA's office. We received a letter. Our budget was $41,250, I believe, for the PBA, and then after further review of the criteria for the contribution amount by the state sent a letter that we needed to transfer an additional contribution of $5,140 to the PBA's office for their operations. The second item on there, the $5,000 request for transfer, is just related to we will from time to time get return checks on occupational tax, which has fees associated with it. We ultimately collect those fees, obviously, from the occupational taxpayers who would submit a check that would be returned. But until such time as we collect, we obviously have to charge off those fees. And so that's what that transfer is for. And then the final two are related to the Mack trucks that we lease. We lease them, we sell them, and we lease them again. So we have to show those funds coming in and going out. So that's what those two transfers there are related to. So we would entertain a motion to approve the transfers unless there's some questions on those.
Make a motion to the transfers.
Motion to approve the transfers as presented by Commissioner Adams. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gerald. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is approval of, is it approval, Betty, for this, or is it acknowledgement, or it's for the tax settlement statement? I guess just to accept it. We're looking for a motion to accept the 2018 tax settlement statement from the Sheriff's Office. This is, we had approved the financial statements from last year, I think 2 months ago. This is actually an acceptance of the tax settlement statements. So this is specifically for the settlement of the collection settlement of the taxes that the sheriff's office collects.
Make a motion, we accept.
Have a motion to accept by Commissioner Sire. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Adams. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? And we'll just make a note on that, Sally, this motion to accept that report. The next three items are related to additional taxing districts that exist here in the county. There is one that we do not have the information on, if you want to make a note. The soil conservation, we did not get the documentation we needed prior to this meeting, so we will have to address that one. But basically, as it relates to the library, extension district, health department, we are just accepting those. We do not have the authority to make any changes to those taxing rates. They are their own taxing district. They just submit those to us for acceptance. We don't approve them, nor can we adjust them. But just, so there's orders for each one, so I'd like to have a motion and a second to approve them each individually. You have the public library board. They have, their rate is staying the same. You can see the rates on there that they have listed, and those are the same as last year. So we would entertain a motion to accept. Again, we'll make that note on the order as well, Sally, that we're accepting that rate. So is there a motion to accept?
Make a motion to accept the libraries.
Have a motion by Commissioner Adams. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gerald. All in favor? Any opposed? This is done every year, by the way. Right, Kathy?
Yes.
About this same time every year, as a matter of fact. The next one is the recommendation or the tax rate as proposed by the Extension District. They are presenting it with the compensating rate, and so we just need a motion to accept their tax rate for 2019.
I'll make that motion, we accept.
Motion by Commissioner Sayers, or second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Adams. All in favor? Any opposed? The last one is the, that we have tonight is the approval to receive the Health Department tax rate. And that one is remaining the same as well. And we just need a motion to receive, I guess is the proper term. I apologize, Sally, it's actually to receive the tax rate. So we need
Make a
a
motion to receive the tax rates.
we have a motion by Commissioner Gerald to receive the tax rate from the Health Department. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Adams. All in favor? Any opposed? Again, we do not have soil conservation, so we will wait till we get the report. We called them, we just did not get that returned to us in time for the meeting tonight. On the last one? Yeah, Kathy seconded. Next item on the agenda is approval of the tax rate for the real property for Johnson County. It is my recommendation that we remain consistent with previous years, recent previous years anyway, that we would approve the tax rate for Johnson County on the compensating rate, as you have the information there in front of you from the Department of Local Government, and they have provided that information to us. This allows our revenue from property taxes to remain the same as what it was last year, and it's what we based our budget on this year. So it would be my recommendation that we approve it at the compensating rate as defined by the Department of Local Government. Motion by Commissioner Adams. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Sager. All in favor? Any opposed? I would ask for approval on an employee of the road department, Bo Spriggs. He has been working as a temporary employee. We made that approval some months ago, a few months back. We would ask for approval to move him from a temporary to full-time employee status. We have had one employee who resigned, and so this would fill that full-time position.
Make the motion to move those groups to full-time.
Motion by Commissioner Gerald, for second.
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 Third.
Second by Commissioner Sayer. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item is a temporary easement agreement. This is related to Trimble Lane. We mentioned that a minute ago as related to emergency funding for the bridge replacement, but this is a temporary easement and agreement with Western Construction. They own property that is accessed by the Trimble Lane Bridge, and they have work that need to be done on their property related to a gas well. And so they are placing a temporary bridge so that they can get their equipment in and out. And so this is essentially just a temporary easement and agreement with them that just basically says that they have the right to put it there, but that they hold the county harmless from any liabilities that might arise from the placement of that bridge. Mike actually is the originator of this document. So if you have any questions, the ERI1 should be able to answer that. I would think.
Is the bridge closed down?
The bridge was closed because it failed.
Completely closed?
Completely closed. It was not safe for travel. So then we sought the emergency funding, which has been granted to replace the bridge. But in the interim, Western Construction needed to do work on their property, which they use that bridge normally, that has now failed, but they needed to do it now in a timely way, so they are placing a temporary bridge there. It's quite interesting, actually, just for educational purposes. You ought to go out there and look at it at a time. It's pretty interesting. I mean, how they just overlaid the old bridge. I mean, just laid over top of it in order to gain access in and out of there. But
What were people doing before?
well, we built a temporary access.
I mean, physically,
Now I can't think of the name of the road offhand, but when you go just past Trimble Lane, you go down over the hill by the church there.
I know what you're talking about.
There's a
Large Creek Church.
yeah, there's a small bridge that crosses, and so as soon as you cross that bridge, we built a temporary access for those residents to go in through that route until we can get the bridge replaced. But there's a temporary easement that we entered into with those property owners to allow us to build that road on the property. But this is just temporary easement agreement that allows Western to place that bridge there. And again, the key thing is we're trying to make sure that the county would be held harmless from anything associated with the placement. Any other comments there, Mike?
No, sir.
Need approval for the agreement?
That motion.
Motion by Commissioner Adams, second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Darrell. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The next item is staying with the conversation about Trimble Lane. We advertised for bids for the bridge, for the bridge replacement. That deadline was today. We received no bids for that. Bridge contractors are extremely busy right now, and so it didn't surprise us that we didn't get any bids on the first run of this. But nevertheless, we advertised as required. We received no bids today, so we'll now proceed with obtaining a bid per KRS 424.260, which outlines how we move forward when we do not receive bids by the deadline. So anyway, just wanted to update you on that there was no bids today, so we'll be coming back to that once we follow through with procurement of a contractor for that. The next item is a approval of a contract with East Kentucky Votes. This is for election programming services. You have a revised copy that was laid in front of your book there tonight. The reason that there's an updated copy is on the second page. Sally and I met with Mr. Stambo with East Kentucky Vote, and this is a company that provides services, and their scope of services is actually attached to the contractor services. It spells out all the details. I won't go through all those, but you can see those for yourself. But we changed, after meeting with him today, we changed the language on the second page as it relates to actually the second full paragraph down, where it acknowledges that they are providing expertise and providing assistance with the upcoming November 2019 election per the scope of services. We had language in there just as an initial draft. It was a little more vague, but it was also identified some services that really were not within his scope. Am I saying that right, Sal? So after meeting with him, we made the recommended changes, took those over to Mike's office, and Mike, I don't think you had any problem with the changes we recommended.
It's fine.
So anyway, this is to provide service for us and for the voting machines for only the November 2019 election. So we can obviously reevaluate after November to see if there's any changes or in any of the services or anything like that. But Sally, I think this is your recommendation that we do this. This is an approval by the fiscal court because the cost for this comes out of the general fund of the fiscal court.
Is that cost comparable to what we normally see?
It's less.
Less?
You didn't hear Sally, she said the cost is less, yes, than what we have paid for previous elections. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask myself or Sally or Mike. But I think this will address our needs for this election. So we entertain a motion to approve this contract.
Make a motion to approve this contract.
Motion by Commissioner Darrell, second by Commissioner Salyer. All in favor? Any opposed? We will get that over to Mr. Stambo for his signatures to finalize that. We can move forward with that process. The next item is the approval for 2 appointments to the library board. This is the first time this has come before this fiscal court this year, but there are 2 trustees for the Johnson County Public Library Board, and the Kentucky Department of Libraries and Archives has sent two letters to fill vacancies on the library board, and my recommendation for approval would be to appoint Tom Salyer to one of those vacancies. Tom is the former superintendent of Johnson County Schools. Most of us, I'm sure, probably know Tom. And the second one I'm recommending is Seth Carter for the second vacancy. Most of you probably know Seth as well. So but those appointments require fiscal court approval. So I would entertain motions to approve both of those appointments.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Adams. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Gerald. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item is appointment to the Housing Authority Board. There is a term that is up there, and it has been, a letter was sent by Doug Van Hoos, the chairman, recommending that Terry Preston be reappointed to the board. He has served the board for 6 years, and it comes with the recommendation of the Housing Authority that he be appointed for another 4-year term. So I would ask for approval to appoint Terry D. Preston, to reappoint Terry D. Preston for another 4-year term to the Johnson County Housing Authority. Motion by Commissioner Adams. Second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Salyer. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Next item is emergency management report. Mr. McClure, anything of significance here that we need to be aware of?
On my report, just a couple of things I wanted to mention. You'll see there on August the 8th, we, of course, have our monthly Johnson County Fire and Rescue Association meeting, and we actually had the meeting at the water plant. And there's occasions where we try to go out to facilities like that, and there's also occasions where we will bring in a speaker, to our meeting, such as the coroner's office, sheriff's department. We've done some of those in the past few months, but with the water treatment plant, there is some chemicals housed out there that all first responders needs to be familiar with. But we went out, had our meeting there, and then made a tour of the facility. Of course, I've been out there a number of times, but that was the first time that maybe some of the other fire chiefs got the opportunity. And, it's an impressive system that they've got out there. And of course, I understand the state of Kentucky, there's probably just maybe 3 or 4 systems, comparable to what we've got here, but they've got a great operation. August the 16th, very important. A lot of us first responders went to Flat Gap School, and and they've done some of their annual safety drills. And we have the sheriff's department present. We always invite the city police, the fire department that covers that area, and of course emergency management. If they're available, we try to get some EMS people to go out. But the school, actually that day, they done their earthquake drill, tornado drill, fire drill, and active shooter drill. We done them all. Mr. Pierce had it lined up, and we done one right after another. Then, after we completed all the drills, some of us first responders split up and went into the classroom and give the students opportunity to ask questions or make comments. And I think we was in the 5th grade, and it was amazing, some of the comments and questions that they had, and especially on the active shooter program, you know, which naturally that's on the forefront of everything right now. But we will be scheduling these throughout the year with all schools. Middle school called today, wanting to schedule. We was at Paintsville Elementary and Paintsville High School a couple of weeks ago and done fire drills, so you know it's a continuing thing. But we like to get the first responders out to the schools to where they're familiar with the schools if we do have, you know, any type of incident whatsoever. Last thing, of course, Wednesday is September the 11th, and you know it's something that's close to everybody's hearts, but especially first responders. Believe me, it really, you know, you can say what you want to, but you know, whether it's in New York or Florida or California, it doesn't matter. We're all brothers when it comes to first responders, you know. And First Baptist Church, and hope maybe the media could get this in the article, they're having a recognition cookout for all the first responders on Wednesday evening at 6 o'clock. And it'll be a cookout. I think Seth Carter's going to have a few words to say. And you know, when we talk about first responders, let's always remember the dispatchers. You know, they kind of get left out of the conversation sometimes, but they're the first people, very first people that make contact. You know, and they're first responders, just like law enforcement, EMS, or the fire department. You know, but we're hoping we'll have a good turnout on Wednesday. That's all I've got to do.
Thank you, appreciate it. Any comments or questions, Gary? You know, something interesting as a side note, last week, I didn't think about it much because time moves so quickly for all of us, but Matt Skeens called about bringing some students over from the high school, and he brought them over here for Tony to talk to them about life post 9/11. And what you don't think about is how quickly time moves. There wasn't a student sitting there that was alive when 9/11 occurred. Right. And so, you know, them not being alive at that time, it doesn't resonate with them because they didn't experience it like we all did in whatever ways that we did. But there wasn't one student sitting there that was alive when that happened. Time moves on pretty quickly, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Thanks for your work, Eric. We appreciate it. Motion to approve the report.
Make that motion.
Motion by Commissioner Gerald. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Adams. All in favor? Any opposed? We are down to other. I have one item under other, and that's a proposal that is provided just prior to the meeting. Quick recap of this particular item. This is related to, if you remember, we applied for a grant for Community Strategic Plan, and we were awarded that grant. It was basically a $10,000 grant with a match, but the match was primarily in kind from employment, services that we provided. But part of the grant was to hire a consultant to help us draft the community strategic plan. What this plan does is this plan obviously provides us information as a community that helps us to guide our efforts going forward, the areas where we need to spend efforts and funding. to improve our community. And this is not economic development per se. This is kind of an additional plan that helps support economic development. So this can talk about anything from tourism to beautification to culture to arts to heritage to, all the things maybe you'd say outside of traditional economic development. And so we were fortunate because this is important. When we talk to people about why Johnson County and why Paintsville and why our community, it's important that they see that we are looking far enough ahead to develop a plan of where we need to improve and areas to which that we need to promote. And so this plan will help us do that, and we were fortunate enough to get funding through the grant to help us do this. We advertised we approved, the fiscal court did, to do a request for proposals. We advertised for that. That ended September the 3rd. We received no proposals. So following, again, procurement per KRS 424.260, having not received any bids by the deadline, we then reached out to individual entities that might have interest in this, and no one had interest except for the proposal you have in front of you. And that's fine in the sense that this group, as you can tell, has a lot of experience in doing these type of plans. CEDIC is the acronym, CEDIK. They are a part of the University of Kentucky, and so they provide this type of services often. Their proposal is within our budget. Their proposal was $7,000. Our budget actually called for $7,500, which included travel. So we still have a little bit of room there to work in case the additional costs should overrun a little bit on the grant, on the services. But having said that, we want to keep this moving forward because we only have 6 months. Well, now we only have 4 months, I think, to complete this plan. So we're beginning a series of steering committee meetings. The mayor, the city is a partner to this, which is important, obviously, because we all need to develop this plan together. And there's a steering committee been established to help facilitate this, and they will be meeting fairly often to help move this project along. But with the help of CEDIC, they will be able to help us deliver a final community strategic plan. So it would be my request tonight that we would approve this proposal from CEDIC to provide the consulting services to develop the community strategic plan. And again, this is coming from grant funds, so this is not coming out of our general fund budget.
I make the motion, we approve.
Motion by Commissioner Salyer, second by Commissioner Gerald. Regina, did I leave anything out in that description?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All in favor? Any opposed? That's the last item I have under other. Anything from the floor this evening? Anything from the commissioners this evening? Thank you for your patience. Thank you all for your patience. Good meeting, good items. So we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Second?
Yes, but it's made a
All in favor?